Welcome to today's broadcast. We are in the season of Christmas, and we will be reading together from the book of Luke, going back to the days when Jesus was born, because we are celebrating Christmas in a few days, and this is a great season. So we will read from the book of Luke, chapter number 2, verse number 1 to verse number 7. Luke 2, verse 1 to verse 7. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in clothes and placed him in a manger, because there was no guest room available for them. Now, as I say, this takes us back to the days when Jesus was born. Mary was betrothed to Joseph. And so, because they were about to get married, when there was declared a census, they needed to go to Bethlehem, to their town, their main town. You know, Nazareth was a village. So they had to come from Nazareth, where that was their residence, or that's where they lived, and they had to go to their town, which was the town of Bethlehem. Bethlehem was also the town of David, and they were from the house and the lineage of David, the Bible says. And so they took the journey, both Joseph and Mary, just like other people, to go and be counted for census to Bethlehem. And while they were there, because during this time Mary was pregnant with their firstborn, while they were there, the Bible says, verse number 6, while they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in clothes and placed him in a manger, because there was no guest room available for them. And you can imagine that during such a time, when people are coming from different areas into the city, into the town of Bethlehem. So incidentally, there was no room that was left for Joseph and Mary to spend the night in. And so when the time to give birth came, they were outside, and the Bible says they wrapped. The baby was born, Jesus was born, and then he was wrapped in clothes, and he was placed in a manger. Now, I know most of you understand what a manger is. It is a place where cows or cattle feed from. It's a place where you put animal feeds for the cattle to feed on. Hay or grass or something like that for the cattle. And you can imagine a newborn baby being born, newborn baby. You know, most of us, we cannot even fathom that. We can't even imagine that. It cannot go through our minds. It's unimaginable that you would give birth to a child, to a baby, and then put him or her in a manger. This is out of necessity. It's not that Mary wanted to do that. She had no other place to place a baby. No other place. But now let's move on from that time. Now we're in a different period. During the first time when Jesus was born, during the time that Jesus was born, the Bible says, and that's what I want to tell you about today, no room was found for him, and he had to be put in a manger. Now, as you celebrate this Christmas, I want to ask you, is Jesus going to have room in your life? Is Jesus going to have room in your house? Is Jesus going to have room in your workplace? When he was born 2,000 plus years ago, no room was found for him where he could sleep and spend a good, nice, comfortable night after he was born. There was no room for him. And if we look at other passages, John 1, 11 and 12, which I like quoting again and again, says, he came to his own, and his own received him not. Same concept. He came to his own, but his own had no place for him. They had no room for him. But us, but you do have an opportunity. As you celebrate Christmas, I want you to create a room for Jesus. Create a room for him. 2,000 years ago when he was born, no room was found for him. He had no room. He had to be put in a manger. And I want to ask you and plead with you by the mercies of God, using the words of Paul, to have a room for Jesus in your heart, to have a room for Jesus in your life, to have a room for Jesus in your activities. And I know during this time we have a lot to do, there's a lot of celebration, there's a lot of eating and drinking, there's a lot of merrymaking, there's a lot of get-togethers. Amidst all those things, don't be like the early people. They got too busy. There was a census and everybody needed a room. Jesus had no room. In Bethlehem, where he was born, he had no room. But now we're talking about your heart. We're talking about your life. We're talking about your affairs. Let Jesus have room. And having Jesus in your life, having Jesus in your heart, having Jesus in your affairs is the best thing that can ever happen to you, and you will never regret. And that's why John, writing from exile in the book of Revelation 3:20, says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with him and him with me. Jesus is looking for an opportunity. He's looking for a room in your heart, in your life. He's looking for a room. He's looking for a room in my heart and in my life. Is he going to have it? Don't be like the first people. The first Christmas, when Jesus was born, they had no room for him. But you can create a room for Jesus, and your life will never be the same again. Thank you for joining me. God bless you. Until we meet again tomorrow.